Paper 12, British Literature, Early 20th Century. So it's a part of Visva-Bharati University UG English syllabus. We have already covered till paper 11. Today we'll be dealing paper 12. Okay. So I think you have read the heading with me. It says British Literature, Early 20th Century. So early 20th century, you can understand it's going to cover your modernist literature. Okay. As in 18th century, we have seen it was whole about Victorian literature. So in this 19th century, we are expecting modern literature or the beginning of postmodern literature. But roughly, you would be given all the modernist text. Okay. So this text has been given with an objective which says that you will be knowing that early 20th century novels and two most significant poets, and in order to understand it you will be developing critical and theoretical understanding which not only help you to gain knowledge regarding this 20th century literature, but it will help you in gaining knowledge upcoming centuries literature too. So that's what we in general know, that if we know one century literature, that will help us in knowing another century too. If we know that what is romantic literature, it will help us in knowing and understanding what is Victorian literature isn't, because these ages are having impact. Okay, Enlightenment impacted Romanticism. Romanticism definitely have some impact on Victorian age. Actually, there's that chronology. Those who do not still understand this chronology, like when that old English period started and when that was this middle age, and then how this was beginning of Enlightenment, then there's romantic age, then there's Victorian age, then there's modernist age, then there's postmodernism. If you still have problem in understanding these ages along with the most prominent authors of that ages and time period and significant events of these ages, then you may write it in the comment section. I will make a separate video in detail regarding that ages. Everything I'll cover, and that video I think would be the master video. You do not require to read anything else in order to understand this. Okay, so that paper which we are dealing is British Literature, Early 20th Century. Okay, so as I told you, there would be text for modern literature. So there we are getting Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, it's a novel. D.H. Lawrence, Sons and Lover, it's a novel. Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, it's a novel. W.B. as Leader on the Swan, Second Coming, No Second Troy, Selling to Virginia, these are poetry. T.S. Eliot, Love Song, Uji Alfred, Sweeney, Among the Nightingales, The Hollow Man, these are poetry. Suggested reading Modernism, Postmodernism, Non-European cultures. This all I'll deal in separate videos. Then psychoanalysis, stream of consciousness, women's movement in the 20th century, use of myth. Then there's avant-garde. Then significant reading section, there's Sigmund Freud, Theory of Dreams, Oedipus complex, Structure of the Unconscious. Then there's T.S. Eliot, Tradition and Individual Talent, Anthology of English Literature, Raymond Ulam, Introduction in the English Novel from Dickens to Lawrence. So little bit, let me explain in few words if I can. Thus Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, it's a novel. It's a novel where it's the most important post-colonialist text, you can say. It's a text where you get a nice glimpse of colonization, but the effect is the most important text. You must read it. We'll be dealing with this. So then D.H. Lawrence, Sons and Lovers, D.H. Lawrence is most important modernist novelist. Those who know, they would be understanding the value of that novel, because this is most important text. From here question comes, okay, be it in UG, PG, and even in other national level exams. It's the most important text. Sons and Lover is a novel which is sometimes interpreted as an autobiographical too. We'll deal with this. There in this context, you have noticed in suggestive reading we got one section called as Theory of Dreams, Oedipus complex by Sigmund Freud. That's necessary for the Sons and Lovers. Okay. because this is where we are getting this Oedipus complex and all. So then Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, it's one of the most important stream of conscious novel. Okay, in that context you are supposed to know what is stream of consciousness, what is stream of conscious novel. So everything I'll deal in detail so that there won't be any understanding gap. Okay, then there's W.B. Yeats, Leda and the Swan. These are poetry. Okay, Yeats is one of the most important Irish poet. There's in Irish rationalism 3 names are most important. Remember, Lady Georgery, W.B. Yeats and T.M. Singe. So he have been given WBS. He had won Nobel Prize 1923. So his poetry is the second coming, no second choice, selling to Bygente will everything deal with in detail so that you'll be understanding it. Okay. These are too necessary. So like my most favorite among this is the second coming, and Leda and the Swan has a mythical element taken. No second Troy has a like allusion of this Iliad Odyssey, like you get that from that very title. And selling to Byzantine, it has a like it has like it's about so many things. Okay, one is that age. Okay, like tradition versus modernity, then new generation versus old. So many things are there. Line by line explanation will go through. T.S.L. love song Ujia Alfred Prufrock is one of the most famous poem written by T.S. Eliot, published in 1915. Okay, so there's then Sweeney among the Nightingale is too, written by Huluman is too. Well, deal with this. Then in this context, as I told, modernism, postmodernism, you are supposed to know. So it's not just, you are not just ending there knowing that modernism comes first, then it comes postmodernism, that's why it's a postmodern. That's not. You're supposed to know that one age is reaction towards another age. Just like modernism is not just appeared, but it has generated something else. Postmodernism, which came after modernism, is not just statically came just after the time, but it was reaction against modernism. Okay, we'll understand everything. So then there are anything else like this was psychoanalysis, stream of consciousness. Psychoanalysis is something where I had done lot of like study. Yes, and I have written papers on this, so I would like to take a whole class on it. Okay, so then stream of consciousness, use of myth, because you have been given Leda and the Swan. So use of myth, you are supposed to avant-garde, which is a kind of that's the movement, but for your understanding, that's the art form to avant-garde, and that means experimental form of an art. Okay, and it came from a its meaning is like advance. Okay, so it was like that way. We'll be explaining who are the painters involved there, who are the authors involved there, when this movement happened and everything. Okay, and suggested reading theory of dreams, Oedipus complex, everything I have to explain now. What is Oedipus complex and how Sigmund Freud introduced it in his this book, Interpretation of Dream, isn't. And then we have to see that tradition and individual talent. Okay, to understand TSL poetry and all, we'll be dealing everything in detail. Okay, for the time being, subscribe the channel, you'll be getting notification on time regarding my new videos. If you have any queries and all, you are definitely like allowed to write it in the comment section. I always try to give reply. Okay, so thank you for watching. We'll soon be back with a new video.